Hello, and welcome to today's Coppice Development stream. I hope you're all doing well, and today we're going to pick up where we left off on Monday, working on a new cropping mode for Coppice. For those of you who may be new, this stream is my little experiment in trying to help demystify how software development works, especially on the Mac and Apple's platforms. I've been a developer on the Mac for about 17 years now, and I've written my own indie apps in the past. I've done contract development, and these days when I don't have contract development to do, I'm working on my own app, Coppice, which is an app to help you keep track of all those thoughts and ideas in your head and find the connections between them. So what we're working on at the moment is the next version of Coppice, where we are going to be improving some of the image functionality. And the key thing we're working on at the moment is image cropping. So if we switch over to our main view, we can have a recap of where we currently are with image cropping. So at the moment, what I actually need to do is get myself a nice big image to show. Actually, let's just take a shot of the welcome screen. We just take a screenshot of this and we'll create a new page and add it in. And what we have so far for cropping is this view here that allows you to size an image up and down, and we can just drag this around, and this is what we worked on Monday, so the ability to crop. And what we want to be able to do is actually let the user crop down to a certain area, then switch back to view mode, and it will have cropped it down just to that area, and then they can go back into crop mode and it will have the same area selected, and then it will go back over and let the user maybe change that again. So that is what we're working on today. For anyone in the chat, if you have any questions at any point, feel free just to post them, whether it's about what I'm working on or anything about life, or questions about Mac development or selling Mac apps or anything like that. Feel free to post them and let me know how you're doing and what you're up to today. So what we want to do right now, the first thing is I want to actually right, how big is that image? Now we could do with a better image actually. Let's delete that. So bring up this. Want to do, see if I can remember how to do this. Take a screenshot there, then there we go. You hold Option down and it grows in all directions. So if we do that, put it on the clipboard, paste it in, that is much better. So thinking about it, really want it to be the same background. That just complicates things. Let's change that. Do this again. Open the window. Add that. Add that. We'll do it like this. That's much better. So now we can see the edges. And we can see it has inset them a bit. So if we resize this up, we get a bit of leeway. So what we want to do today is we have all of these things up here which are basically going to be our to-do list for what is left for cropping. So I think what we're going to start with is making sure that the size can't get below a minimum size, which will probably be something like probably this height. There's a bit of overlap here on the handles, but we're going to have it so that when it sizes down small enough, they start shrinking a bit. I mean, how big is that area? If we say 72 by 72 is the minimum size. We can always tweak that later if necessary. And then we also want to prevent it from going bigger than the image bounds, because the reason we have this leeway is that the handles stick out a bit. So what we want to do is make sure it only ever goes up to the bounds and never beyond. So the minimum size is actually the easier one to do. So if we save this, go over here, just did crop rect with delta. So what we probably want to do is actually have adjusted delta. Which is going to be our delta. And then down here, we're going to because I'd like to tidy this code up because it's a bit of a mess and we need to start throwing some other stuff in here. And this is going to be the best place to do the minimum because it's just a number. So what we want is sometimes we only want to adjust size, sometimes we want to adjust the origin. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. I believe I have a CG Core graphics. So the problem here is adjusting the width and the height is easy, and if you want to minimize, like set the minimum width, that's fine, but when you set the minimum width you also have to have adjusted the origin. By a similar amount. And for that we need to know whether... So how do we want to actually go about this? So in this case, if the height is, say the height is initially, what, 100, and the delta is minus 50, then if we set it to 72, that means that the height is technically reduced by 28, which means the origin should be reduced by 28, which means that we need to adjust the delta. And the reason for the top that we're doing minus equals height is because if you're adjusting the top and going up, and you're dragging up, you're actually going up because our origin's in the top left. So y will be negative, so therefore we want to add the negative to the y, but subtract the negative from the height, which flips it around so the y gets lower and the height gets bigger when you're dragging from the top. So we have adjust y, adjust x, that inverts it. So this would adjust y, this would adjust x, this would adjust x and y, and this would adjust just y. But so we've got the adjusted direct. If the adjusted direct is too small, then we need to invert it, but we need to know how to invert it. Could do this for each individual thing. I suppose what we could do is split this up into adjusting top, adjusting left, adjusting right, adjusting bottom. And if you're adjusting the top, which you are for like for each of these, you're adjusting, like each direction applies to 3, because it's always going to apply to an edge and 2 corners. Then we just have 4 cases to deal with, and it can just be in the case of the corner that 2 of them happen at the same time. You're never going to get top and bottom, so it's either going to be top or bottom, left or right. That's 2 sets of 2. Yeah, I think that's how we're going to do that. So, what we can do here is up. Oh. If you are top, top left, or top right, going to return true. Otherwise, we're going to return false. So therefore here we can just do if self dot is top and do the top things, else if is bottom, we do the bottom things. We do if self dot is left, we do the left things, or we do the right things. So, for top, we always want to adjust that. Otherwise, adjust the direct dot size dot height equals delta dot y. If we're left, we want to do this. Otherwise, we want to just add that. And that, if we delete this, should be equivalent, but a lot simpler. Because we've got far less duplication. And this is all working as expected. So that is how you go about simplifying code. And when you've simplified code, you can make stuff a lot better. So here, if direct.size.height we want is, let's just stick it in here for now. Minimum size is 72. So height is less than minimum size. So if just direct.size.height plus delta.y. Okay, so we can just inline that. But up here, which I think I want to do, get that if new height is less than minimum size, delta equals delta y. If size.height is less than the delta, no, minus the delta, less than the minimum, then what we can do is adjust delta, and the delta is going to be today is not a day for my brain to be working, so this is taking longer than I would normally expect. So if that is less than the minimum size, then what we want to do is make it so that so the delta equals adjusted direct.size.height minus minimum size. And just adjust by the delta. So in theory, that should provide us with a minimum size when we resize vertically. That works for there. And that works there. Success. So this is going to be the max of the adjusted direct.size.width plus delta x minimum size. And For this, we just want same again. Gonna replace of X and height with width. If we build and run this now, we should, hopefully, get this working in all directions. Oh, maybe not. Yes. Equal that, not plus equal. Right, again. You failed, try again. Goes down there. We should be able to bring that down there. That there. Okay. Success. Now what we probably want to do is actually move some of these out and into our view as private functions, because they don't really feel like they belong on here. What we also need to do is separate out our crop rect from the actual drone rect. And the difference between those two is that the crop rect will be origined on the image. Actually, that might... No, the image has to be inset somewhat. Yeah, so it is inset by $20 points. So our crop rect, we need to treat that as not filling the entire screen. We need to set a maximum bounds on that, and that is going to be determined by the margin. So let's have a think. We could just have our crop rect based off the origin of the image, and then we can have all of our drawing we can base it off some insets. So where do we need the actual project? So for there we can have either, because we're converting. For there, we need the actual drawing rect. Now we can set the crop rect because the drawing rect will just draw it. Need the drawing rect there. We need the drawing rect for that. We need interaction bound for rect. That would be the drawing rect as well. But that would be the crop rect. So we do for image size, CG size equals 0. And we want for dot inset. Which I think will make an NS edge inset. That's 0. What we want to do here is we'll we want CG rect stuff.view model .image .size to rect is set by so if we do that, that gives us our crop rect. Self.crop view .image size equals self.view model .image .size. Oh, thank God, let self.view image else return. You can get rid of the optionals. Set those to 20 for now. So I'm going to get our drawing rect, which is going to be a crop rect. Adjusted by that. Actually, we want the inverted. So what I could do is edge inset. Look. Bar. Inverted. So, if we do that, I don't know why I just done that. So the drag handle needs to be based on the drawing rect. Crop rect is updating the data. That needs to be drawing rect. That needs to be drawing rect. As does that. Two is on mouse up. We will print crop rect. Just to see what the crop rect actually is and test it as adjusting it. Like that. There. That's saying that is 40. Interesting. So the crop rect should be 0 at this point. Drawing rect should be 40. Drag state. So we have our initial point. And we get a drag state. We get the delta, and the delta shouldn't make a difference between crop rect and the actual drawing rect, because the delta is based upon where you're dragging in the view. It's just a difference, which should be the same for both of them. The only difference is that the crop rect should be shifted down and to the left by the insets and have a maximum, have its size adjusted. What would happen if I just get rid of this? Okay, so that is most definitely off. So it is shifting those correctly. Wait, shifting the top and the left. Have I... Oh, flipped is true, I believe I want. No, flipped is true. Or maybe we don't want inverted. Oh yeah, because inset it, yeah. Actually, no, that, So that's right there, but that is now taking it off. So it's inset by 20 there, which is what we want. But, okay, so maybe we just want to adjust the X and Y, and we only care about the full inset for the actual maximum size. So, let's add a public id. Origin. Move by X. Flipped to. We'll make that true. And what we will do is self X X. Actually, we don't need flipped for this because we're not dealing with top and bottom, we're just dealing with Y. Turn rect. Drop rect moved by X. That's dot left. Y. That's dot top. This should work now. Because yeah, we want the size to stay the same, we just want to shift it down. So, there we go. That's working correctly. So now we can play around with having a maximum size. Might be able to do in here. Set that to the image size. Okay, this is where things are going to start getting even more complicated, because when you start adjusting the origin, it just gets a mess. So here we should be able to do min. This should be max size dot height. Except it won't be. Because because it may have been shifted. So therefore the max size is actually the max height that you can get is going to be the max size minus the initial rect origin.y. Let max height if that works. Okay, so it works there. If we do this, okay, so we're bounding there. So we can apply the same to the right. That the max width equals the max size. That, and then we'll bound it by the max width. So we should get the same thing happening now on the right hand side, which again should make things very simple. Yeah. There we go here. Go to a minimum, and we can go to a maximum. So we've actually got it working down here. The problem is, to do it up here, we need to take into account the fact that the origin is going to change. So if the adjusted rect size width is less than that, then we're going to set it to the minimum. Now the problem is for adjusting, for example, from the top, we need to get the max x, or rather the max y of the rect to get the bottom coordinate. Or do we? We only want it to the actual origin to never go above we never want it to go outside of a certain rect, which we can do there with those adjustments. But if we threw in the origin of the rect, then it's just a case of checking yeah, because if you throw in the origin of the rect, alright, let's bring up Photoshop and show you what I'm thinking. So we're going to have a rectangle, and we don't want our crop rect to go outside of this rectangle. So what we've done is make sure that from this point to this point, or rather the bottom never gets above this value plus the height equaling this. So it's like making sure that x plus that is always less than that, or y plus that is always less than that. So we can do the other thing where we just need to make sure that the x or the y never gets either above, like never gets below the x and y of this rectangle. Now the other thing we could do is say this is the point here. We never, no, we can't do. No, we're going to need the rectangle. It's going to make stuff a lot easier if we go that route. So let's just take this out. Actually, it's the crop rect. We just want it to never go below 0. So we've adjusted rect dot origin dot y plus delta is less than 0. And then the delta is just the adjusted rect dot origin dot y. Or it would be equals minus, because we want to adjust it so that it becomes 0. And then we can do the same here. The origin dot x plus delta is less than 0. That might work. Rather amusingly, just as I come up with that, the current song playing is called Epiphany. So we'll see if it is an epiphany. Oh, there we go. We have now bounded our crop rect inside of here. Success! We've got a minimum and a maximum size. And all it took was a bit of maths. Right, so what we are going to do now is start commenting some stuff. Now, commenting isn't as flashy as coding and showing stuff off, but it is vital to actually making sure you understand how this works. So we'll have some documentation comments for the public. So I'll have these public comments in here. That's all fairly self-explanatory. The mouse down, mouse drag these, we can delete our comment here. That's all fairly self-explanatory. Drawing rect. To actually frame view. Actually draw crop rect. So draw clip box, draw drag handles. All those self-explanatory. Path for rect. Path for drawing a particular as the rectangle use click slide rect to with the that to adjust the crop rect by a delta strain nice. Don't go below minimum. Oh, 0. Right. Negative origin. Max height. The origin. Top left corner. Shifted. That should be enough because that is pretty much the same. So we can actually take some items off our to-do. So I think at this point I'm going to take a short 2-minute break just to refill my glass of water, and then we'll come back and we'll start working on being able to shrink the size of the handles down and move the crop area around when you click and drag in the middle. So I'll be right back in a few minutes. Okay, I am back. So let's get back into doing some more work on the crop view in Coppice. So what we want to do is when the size starts getting too small, we want to actually reset, shrink down the size of the handles. So when we have a rectangle here, I think what we want to do is it's going to be based off the minimum size. So what we're going to do is make this a static let. All of these are now going to become soft dots, and this will allow us to reuse that minimum size in other parts. So we've got our minimum size all set up, and what we want to do here need to work out which point we want to start adjusting things. So probably about here. What's the size between there? About 10 points. So yeah, that makes sense. So when our side handle length equals self dot so I'm going to side handle length, and what we want to do that's a fair point, because we need to adjust multiple things down at once. Let's do a simple thing. So the side handle length is equal to self.side handle length. So what we're going to do here is we also want a minimum yeah, we're gonna have a minimum size, which is going to be self dot side handle length plus self dot corner handle length times 2 plus 20, which is going, in fact we're going to split that up to plus 10 plus 10. So that gives us our, I hate it when Xcode does that. That's going to give us our minimum size. Now if rect.width is less than actually, yeah, so we want horizontal. That's a fair point. What happens to the corners if you are... Yeah, so what happens to the corners if you shrink down and so if you say shrink down this way, then you're going to have your handle there. You're going to have a handle there, and you're going to have a handle there. Now the thing is, these are overlapping because this is small, but here, your handle's all the way down there. So do you proportionally shrink down the handle, even though there's space there, or do we make it look like that? I think the answer is to proportionally scale it down. That feels the right thing. So if one dimension is too small, all the corners scale down. But for our top, like all our side ones, it all depends on the actual size. I think that's the approach we're going to take. So, yeah, we're going to need a horizontal side handle length, vertical side handle length. So the width is less than the minimum size. And then the horizontal side handle length. Ooh, that's a fair part. How do we actually adjust this down? Maybe it should be proportion of the size up until the side handle length. So, what we would do is this is going to be let the minimum is self.side handle length, and then it's got to be rect dot width times, let's say 0. Let's make it 25%. This is going to be the same, but rect dot height times 0.25. I'm going to take the horizontal in there and the vertical in here. So let's see what this looks like. That looks good, and then that gracefully scales down. That looks pretty good. So all we need to do here now let's have a play around with shrinking this down. So that corner equals min. Self dot side handle self dot corner handle length, and then we want to do the minimum of either the rect height, the rect width times 0.25. Yeah, hi Yuli. Yeah, removing the sides could make sense. Though I'm a bit iffy because the thing is, I suppose the only way you're going to get it down there is if you're dragging by a corner, and if you're dragging by the side, it's going to be the opposite. Like if you're dragging the width down, it's going to be the top and the height, isn't it? So that's certainly a possibility, but I think if it helps if I actually use what I've created. Don't need that anymore. But if I use this, then hopefully what should happen is, as we scale down, they all scale down. Yeah, a lot only have the 4 corners, but I like having the sides to help you be able to actually adjust in just one direction. They are quite useful to have, especially when you want to get a bit more precise. I mean, this is the smallest crop area I'm allowing. So at this point, to me, this looks fine. Because you can still resize by the handle. I just need to adjust, because at the moment, like if you click down there, that is overriding yeah, I mean the hotspot is not that big. I mean if I draw the hotspots, color dot yellow dot with alpha 0.5 set, and we'll do drag handle dot interaction balance yourself dot drawing rect dot fill. So these are the interaction rects, so if you go down like that, I mean, I suppose it's possible that you'd want to just do a single line of text. And removing the sides would allow me to make it a lot smaller. Yeah, maybe that is a better option. Because I could just make the handles smaller already, because they are fairly chunky at the moment. And if I make them a bit smaller, I could shrink it down until the interaction areas overlap. Yeah, because if it's below a certain size, then I just ignore the interaction areas for the sides and just do the top. Yeah, I think that might actually be the better option then. So we'll still scale down the corners, but what we'll do is the corner handle length is currently set at 20, so let's set that to 18 and set that to, let's say 26, and see what this looks like. That looks alright. Yeah, in terms of what I'm using is the actual drawn depth is 8 points, but the actual interaction rect I offset by the interaction margin, which where's that? 2. So technically for these side ones, that is what? 8, that's 12 points wide by whatever the length is. So that gives, I mean, this is a lot more forgiving than almost all other resize handles out there, because a lot of them are just a small box in the corner. You don't get the side things, you don't get like the thing where you can just click anywhere in this thing. So I'm trying to make this as forgiving as possible. I don't think the cursor is 16 by 16. It looks like it's 12 by, maybe it is 16 by 16, but the actual standard mouse cursor, like the arrow, is just 12 points wide because it doesn't use the full amount. I mean, there is a drop shadow in there, so that could be what is using the rest, because it's definitely taller than 12, but it is 12 wide, so. But either way, it's like the interaction area is more than big enough. So what we want to do is you could do, but Right now, I've just reduced it to 26. But it's a question of whether I want to reduce it down to just being a single point or not. I think your initial idea of just having them vanish when it gets too small makes the most sense, because it's just like removing unnecessary clutter, as it were. So I think that approach should work, and the thing is, I think it should be easier to do as well, because all I can do is make that an optional. And just guard that else continue, and then I can get the minimum size equals, it's self dot side handle length plus self dot corner handle length times 2 plus 10 plus 10. In fact, let's make the gap plus 8 plus 8 for now. So if rect dot if the width is less than minimum size, then return now. That will just do a guard. If the width is greater than or equal to minimum size, else. And the same for the bottom. For the left, we want to change that to the height. So this should now cause the side handles to vanish. The interaction vectors will still be there, but we can fix that in a sec. So, as we shrink this down, yep, so you can see those are vanishing, and the key thing is, if you drag the sides, those vanish. Okay. So they shrink down a bit before vanishing. So I reckon we could actually shrink that down a bit more. Now let's keep it simple for now. When they reach, we're going to get rid of the horizontal and vertical adjusting, and we're just going to make them the full thing. So when it gets too small to draw them, they just vanish. We can play around with having them also shrink as well later as a nice to have. The key thing with any sort of software development is realizing when you're going a bit too far. And it can be very tempting to go too far, but the thing is, a user is not really going to notice it shrinking down a bit or care. So what we can do here is all this gap here now, we can shrink it down. So the minimum size is actually going to be the size of the corners. So turn corner handle length times 2. And let's do self dot corner handle length plus self dot side handle length times 2. No, not side handle length, interaction margin. Just so that we get a bit of thing. So it should be the bounding boxes that of Oh yeah. Oh, Uli, I've actually got a bit of Elgato tech now for running the stream. I bought myself a Stream Deck yesterday, and I've been getting that all configured, which has been a lot of fun. No, funnily enough, getting this set up for the stream, I've only got a few things on here currently for the stream, so like switching between all of my different scenes in OBS and switching my character to all my different things. And what I've actually filled it up with is when I'm running my Dungeons & Dragons games, controlling Roll20, I have like folders upon folders of things doing dice rolls and different commands and changing all the different tools and stuff, so it's almost going to be more useful for that. But I mostly just got fed up of OBS getting the hotkeys wrong and the hotkeys constantly failing, and it's just like, I'll just get a Stream Deck and deal with that. So yeah, I mean, what I have it set up as is the first one is changing all the different tools on Roll20, so change between your different layers, change between like the select tool and the draw tool and all stuff like that. But then I have it where when I'm in the chat, it just starts inserting text in, and I've got some for like whispering to each of my players, but then others that will put roles in, and I have it set up where I've got one screen where it is it will do a query that you can do on Roll20 where it taps in to do like roll a certain number of like D6s or D8s, but then I've got the other like 9 of the buttons just set up for numbers as well, so it's basically a numpad, so I can just do like tap the D6 button, then tap the 8 button and roll 8d6. So it's been pretty fun playing around with and getting it all set up. So I've wanted the Stream Deck ever since they first came out. It's like doing this stream has given me an excuse, and now I'm finding all sorts of use cases for it. Alright, so let's see if this will now... Okay, that is getting smaller than it should do. So it should be that plus the corner handle length, which should go to there. Let's just, for now, let's just stop shrinking down on handle. See why this is failing. Yeah, I believe Daniel Kennett had created some Xcode functions, and I tried using them, but they unfortunately I couldn't get them to work. But I think that might be because my Xcode is not in Applications Xcode. It's Applications Xcode version number, because I have that many different versions on my machine at once. Not getting... Oh, I bet I know why. Because it's drawing end caps on. And they will be being added. So what we probably want to do is add on to the minimum size the handle depth. But yeah, I've been really impressed with the hardware. I mean, it's a lot smaller than I was expecting, the Stream Deck. and it's pretty high quality, but how easy it was to set up and just plug it in, start putting all the actions in and everything, it's been it's really impressed me, like the whole process of using it. So I'm very much happy with it. Okay, so we're getting a bit too... Oh, probably not half the handle depth because... No. That's half the handle depth there, half the handle depth. Yeah, we do want half the handle depth. So... let's just add that. So that, okay, now that is looking a lot more like it. Of course, I have just realized this is going to mess something up elsewhere, which is one thing I want you to be able to do is like click on this and move this crop area around. And if we go down there, that's going to mess that up. But what I can do is just have that be the first thing that we check. So therefore it will start overriding the corners at this point. Like if you click somewhere inside that isn't the corners, it's fine. But when you start getting below a certain thing, start checking those corners as well. Okay, so maybe it is the point at which they vanish, at which we start making it so that when you click on the center. Okay, so now what we want to do is have this shrink down a bit more. So what we're going to do is private static let minimum handle length. Let's actually just change the corner length down and make things right, so I think that is a decent size, because that's a decent minimum size, and they still look like corners. So yeah, I mean, generally it's unlikely that you're going to be like dragging it here to move it. You're probably going to be selecting it in the center. So I think having sort of a middle box would be more useful. Oh, I know why that's happening, because the interaction rectangles are still enabled for the sides, so we will have to disable that. But I think what I'll do is I'll have this as the minimum size, because these look a bit too small to me to actually deal with. So what we can do is actually have it scaled down to the minimum size. So we're going to make that there. This is going to be the minimum handle length. By the way, if anyone else who's watching has any questions, please feel free to add them in chat. Notice we've gained a few viewers since I started, so if you are curious what is going on, I'm basically working on my indie Mac app called Coppice, which is designed to help you make sense of your thoughts and ideas and link them together. So at the moment we're just working on this cropping UI for when you add an image in, to let the user like go in and crop images down, and then maybe if they want to come back to it later, they can come back and crop it a completely different way so it's completely non-destructive. But to do so, we're needing all of this custom UI that we're having to build. So this is always the fun bit, because custom UI requires a lot of coding knowledge, but also a lot of design and user experience knowledge to get things just right. So I think if we do that self dot minimum handle length, that's your minimum corner handle length. Let's see if that works as I expect it to. Yeah, if you're also viewing, if you want to be notified whenever I stream, then be sure to give me a follow on Twitch. It also helps me get towards affiliate status, where I can start offering more features and functionality on the stream. So it really helps if you do are able to click that follow button and help me along on that journey. I'm hoping when I get to the point of I am an affiliate, I can use things like channel points to offer things such as, if you get enough channel points, you can come in, redeem them, and I will actually take a look at your app and give you some reviews on a particular view on your app, and give you some feedback on, be it design or interaction or something like that. I think you find, Dave, that it smashed that subscribe button on YouTube. But hello to you too. So let's see if this scales down as I expect. And it does. Fantastic. So now we need to start scaling down our interaction. So back handle. So we want the interaction bound to be optional as well, because then we can start returning nil there too. So what we will do here is if let interaction bound equals that, and interaction bound contains, then we will return the drag handle. And this is actually the minimum size for side handles, which we can probably turn into a property. Set that up there. if vect dot no, doing guard. I can type correctly. Just want to guard that that is true, else return nil. So, oop, what's gone wrong? Okay. Right, so hopefully when I go to the minimum size, let's say around here, yeah, so that is no longer let me drag those. So the interaction recs now vanish when that vanishes. So now we need to shrink down the interaction recs for the corners, which means we have the corner side. From corner, handle, length, rect. Throw that in there. Okay. Don't even need a variable there. Just stick it in here. Actually, we do need a variable, because we need it in more than one place. So we'll get rid of all of these, and this should just work. Which, as any programmer knows, are famous last words. Oh! And now I have to worry because it worked first time. Which is a scary thing to ever have happen. But that is now small enough to let you drop an area like that. Which, if I build and run again without drawing the interaction areas, would look something a bit like this. Which I think looks pretty good. So I think we have some good progress there. So the next thing is going to be moving this around. So what I'm going to do first is commit all these changes. Sorry, I'd muted myself by accident. So, what I was saying was, this is the other cheat that I had done. Basically, rather than like centering this in the overall view, I have a custom view which has the image editor, the image view behind, and then my crop view above. So the image view is only inset from the edges of this view, which makes calculations a lot easier. This view's centered, and then these are just NS boxes all around, which match the color of the unselected area, because the selection never goes out here. So this basically is just a cheating way of simplifying all the maths that I would have to do to make sure that the rectangles line up in this crop view, because all the complex stuff is handled by auto layout. So the trick to building great custom UIs is always cheat. I don't it like that. Is that plan? Oh no, I know why. That fixes it. Okay. So, what was I going to do? Moving. So, for moving, what we need is to define a rectangle that we're going to move in. So what we could probably do is just private var move. Yeah. So what we are going to do here is return CG rect, and for now let's just do self dot drawing rect dot inset by 20. And what we're also going to do is ns color dot blue with alpha 0.5 set and f.moveRect.fill. So we're going to just draw our move rect, get a sense of what we want it to look like, and then we'll do the actual interaction, because the interaction should be fairly simple. So when it starts getting to this point, we actually want it to start shifting up into this area. So when we get to the minimum size for that, we want to fix the size so actually this does want to be a function, because this needs to be move rect in rect. Move rect in self.drawing rect. Now if the rect is less than drag handle dot minimum size for side handles. And do move rect. Turn move rect. So the width is less than that. Then we want to fix. We might as well just snap it at this point. So the width is going to snap to being direct dot inset by. In fact, we can just set the inset. So if we do dx equals 20 and var dx equals 10. If that is no, dy equals 20. If that's true, then dx equals drag handle dot let's say handle depth divided by 2 plus drag handle dot handle dot oh, it's private, isn't it? Fraction mark. If rect dot height is less than drag handle dot minimum size, dy equals drag handle dot handle depth divided by 2 plus drag handle interaction margin. Dx and dy. Oh, what don't we like here? Oh. Swift is supposed to have type inference, so why the hell it can't infer what I mean the type to be? I mean, surely it could make the compiler be able to read my mind and infer what I want the code to do. Make life a lot easier. Right. So we have over here, that is going there, and then when these vanish, it then changes to that, then changes to that. That looks good enough. So then, what we want here yeah, AppKit does have some helpfulness in the fact that it was built for a language that didn't rely on the compiler and therefore doesn't go all out on the compiler. I wonder if it makes sense just to add a move drag handle. No, probably not, because then we'd have to handle it. Well, no, actually, because we've got a nil path, and you're just in the crop direct. And the initial net with delta, you're just adjusting the Y. Now, let's just make this optional. And this is now we do if let handle and we'll put that on direct handle, else self.crop rect self.move crop rect rect could actually name move rect in rect to something better. Action rect. Moving in rect. So then all we need to do here is we'll do the and there should be the moved crop direct. And what we're just going to do is offset by delta x. So initially we're just going to do that. This will not bound the view, but we can add that in a sec. There we go. So that's enough to proof of concept it. What we want to do is if rect dot min y plus delta dot y is less than 0, delta is less than 0, then dy equals that, I believe, is what we want. But dx equals delta x. And if we do dx and y, this should hopefully prevent it going off the top or left edges. It would do if I could type. We go here. Yay! So that has limited it there. Now, else if charette dot max y plus dy is greater than be self dot image size dot width. Yeah. Then dy equals self dot image size dot width minus initial rect dot width. Believe that is what we want, because the image size dot width is basically the maximum it can get, so therefore we want no. Or maybe resize it down. No, that isn't what we want. We're even hitting that. No, so I've done that calculation wrong. So what actually is going on here? In fact, let's disable that a second. Make sure it is beyond. Enable it. And shift it a bit more. Right. Oh! Yeah. It's delta y. It works on the height. It's still not working, but I go there. Stick our breakpoint in there. And shift it down. dy is that initial rect dot max y dot width. Oh yeah, because it needs to be the height. What I'm going to do is swap dx and dy around, because you always do dx dy, not dy dx. It's the image size dot height minus the initial rect dot height. Now this should hopefully work. Now that I've remembered which way is up and which way is down. There we go. So we just need to add this here. If initial rect dot max x plus dx greater than self dot image size dot width dx equals minus equals self dot image size dot width minus initial rect dot width. So that works, and the other thing I remembered wanting to do was round these. And thankfully I have convenience methods for rounding various core graphics bits and bobs. So let's see if this works. There we go, and if we go down really small, oh, aha, but drag to handle, drag handle. Actually, we could do it as a let. Then if self dot, actually no, do that and guard self dot stretch it for moving in self dot right? Drawing rect that contains point and after drag state drag state initial point rect. Let's just have boolean. Oh. Should probably do this as a state, but oh well. Else if is moving. Move. Oh, what have we got? Oh, need an else. Now this should hopefully work, because when you get it down small and we get the interaction area. Oh. No, we need to invert that. Need to guard that it doesn't contain that. That works, but I can move that around. Okay, so we've got fully resizing. Oh. Something has gone wrong there. So why has that started breaking? because we're fine going up there. It was working before. That gets to there. It jumps. Gets to there. And it vanishes. Now it should still... All we have changed... Not going to be that. Or it is. Okay. Eh? What on earth? Let's try rounding the delta then. Yeah, well, it's better if we just round the delta. So, oh no, it's broken again. Huh. So that's working. Oh. Right. So if we're there... Yeah, so it's when you're starting. So that should limit there, but that's right. I am not taking into account. Yes, so that is right. But if you are from here, the maximum you can drag is the image height minus that height minus initial rect. So for the height, it would be the height plus, yeah, so it's minus max y minus max x. I wasn't taking into account the origin for the drag. So if I put there we go. I would say that has been a very successful day. We've managed to get it hiding and resizing the handles, being limited by minimum and size and limited in the bounds, and we've got it where you can move it around. So if I just in the drawing delete this here, we can go up and we've got rid of shrinking, we've got rid of move that. So what we're probably going to do in future is have a thing where it actually will show you, probably only as you're dragging it, what size it is. Sort of similar to when you bring up the you're taking a screenshot, you can hopefully just about see that it's showing what the dimensions are here. So we can have that appearing as you are resizing it, just so you can get an idea of like what the exact dimensions are. Then what we need to do is scrolling, because at the moment you cannot shrink the window down smaller than the size of the image. So what this needs to be is a scroll view so that you can shrink it down and then you can scroll around, and when you're dragging these things around it needs to actually move. Because for example on the canvas I can click this here and you can see the scroll bar is moving as I'm moving around. So we're going to need to add all that functionality, but the good news is it's all actually implemented on here, so we can reference that. And then the final thing is going to be actually applying these crop rects, because when I go like this and crop to here, when I go back to view mode or go to hotspot mode, I want it to only show this view. And then when I click back to crop mode, I want it to show, it should look exactly like it is now, where it shows the whole image and shows the crop area, so that I could then go, actually, instead I want to crop this bit. So we have full non-destructive cropping. So hopefully we can get working on that on Monday, which is when the next stream will be. But for now, I mean, this was only going to be a 2-hour stream, but it's ended up being 2.5 hours. But being so productive, why not go a bit longer? So I want to thank you all for watching. I hope that if you are not already, you will follow me on Twitch and get notified whenever I am streaming again. But yeah, I hope to see you on Monday, 2 PM UK time, 9 AM Eastern time, where we'll be continuing developing Coppice. And if you have any questions about Mac development or anything, feel free to bring them along and I'll try to answer them on stream. So until Monday, thank you for watching and goodbye.